What will happen if you go to prison and you can't handle yourself? It depends on what you're in for and who you are. And I will break that down as to what I mean by that, people, because as you can imagine, if you go to prison and you can't handle yourself and you're a bacon, you're going to get what you deserve. But you'll be put on the VP wings and be protected in amongst the other beasties, but you probably still will get it at some point. And if you're just a small bacon, the bigger bacons will fry your ass. So, on a serious note, well, that it was serious actually, but on a note, speaking from a normal prisoner's point of view, if you go to prison, say for instance, you get 2 years for driving offences. 2 years normally the maximum for a driving offence. If it's TWOC, which is now called aggravated vehicle taking. So just say, for instance, you've took a vehicle and you've gotten 2 years inside a prison. You've never been in prison before. You can't handle yourself. What is going to happen to you when you get in there? You'll have heard all these different stories. You'll have seen all these different programs and films which are dramatic. And you've got this idea in your head that some big black guy is going to bum you. Because that is what people think is going to happen to them inside of prison. And that fear of that comes from the likes of Purple Aki, when stories used to go around that prisoners got bummed off the likes of Purple Aki. And you used to hear all the other stories about on your first night, the prisoners are going to get a hold of you and bum you. And it doesn't just mean a black person, because people will be saying, why have you just said a black person? It can be anybody. The boogeyman's going to bum you in prison. You're going to get a padmate who's going to fancy you because you're just a little lad and your padmate's a big lad and he wants you to warm him up during the night. But all of them stories are mostly what they are, stories, just made up stories. So if you can't handle yourself, depends on what the situation is. So for instance, this person that I'm talking about that I've made up, that I've said is getting 2 years for a TWOC, went in, can't handle himself, he's in a local prison, never been in before, he's not a fighter, and other lads who have got nothing are asking him for vapes, asking him for shower gel, asking him for coffee, for tea bags, constantly on his case, because that's what happens when you first go into prison. On the induction wings, the lads are running around like fucking headless chickens, trying to get whatever they can, asking everybody. I mean, you've got tramps, absolute scratters at your door asking for leftover fucking vapes, leftover tea bags. Have you got a used tea bag in there, pal? I need a fucking brew. Have you got a used vape? And you see them picking them up on the prison yard, even though there's nothing in them. They've been fucking smoked to death or vaped to death. They're still looking for leftovers, looking for the last couple of puffs on that vape that every man and his best friend has been sucking on, being chucked on the floor in the dirt, and they're still picking it up. And that's what type of scratters you get inside a jail. So if this said prisoner who can't handle himself just bows down and says, here's some coffee, I've only got 2 vapes left, but you can have one. You can have one of my tea bags. You can have a bit of my shower gel in the shower, as long as you put it on my back and rub me crack. Just joking, just making a bit of humour out of it, people. But if he did do them type of things, then they're going to be on him like leeches. Every day they'll be asking him. Then it'll get worse. And if he doesn't defend himself and say no, and just keeps giving them, and then they fucking find out he's got a little bit of money on the outside, then they say, can you mind sending us a postal order? Well, they don't do postal orders now, but do you mind getting some money transferred in? or send some money to one of your relatives to send to us. People get tortured inside a prison in scenarios like this. Canteen day comes, they're at the door, banging on his door, or waiting till the door's open, on association, and say, oh, give some of your biscuits, or give us some of your tea bags, or can I have a bit more of that coffee? You've got to stand up for yourself in jail. You've got to straight away say, no, you're not getting out. Unless you become friendly with someone and they are your friend. Obviously, you can give them a loan of a bit fucking food or whatever they want. Or give them it if they're decent people. But you will get the vermin, the scratters, that will take everything you've got unless you say no and stand up for yourself. Him and his friends will keep coming back, bullying you, intimidating you, and taking things off you. But a lot of people have said when I've done videos like this previously, saying nothing like that happens in jail. Believe you me, it happens. If you're a bigger lad or someone that can handle yourself, you might not see this going on as much. Or if you're someone that's telling these people, no, you're not getting nothing, you might not witness it as much. But believe you me, even the ones that have got their own little clique, when all of the little scratters are together, and when I mean scratters, I mean the ones that are out robbing old women on the streets, proper scratters, proper smackheads that would rob anybody, come in, they would rob anybody in prison. Pad thieves, they'll rob your pad, anything. So they're in prison and they're going to rob anyone in prison who they can get away with it. But like I said, if you're a bigger lad or you can handle yourself and you don't become victim to this, you might not see it as much. But even in them circles, when they're together, they will, gang mentality, pick on one of them and torture them. I've seen it happen, and I've heard it from prisoners who have been getting tortured. You see it when they're coming for the food. I've even witnessed, when I was on the servery, lads getting the dinner took off them. Lads coming through, you see a chicken leg, bit of fucking chips and that. One of them will say, give us some of your chips. And he's just going like that, doesn't know how to say no, or he's scared to say no, and they're just taking it off his plate, taking his chicken leg, and he's left with a few peas on his plate to go back to his pad, and he's like a fucking stick. But obviously when the bigger lads who can handle themselves see this type of thing going on, then they will step in, slap the person about who is doing it to them, and have a good word with them and tell them to leave them alone. It's happened on a few occasions when I've seen it myself, when I've said, what the fuck you doing, leave him alone. He's a decent lad, he just can't stick up for himself. He's in prison doing his time, but he can't defend himself and he won't say no, but he's a good lad. So I've looked after these type of lads before. I've said, listen, he's a good fucking lad, leave him alone, try and take the fucker off me. And that's how you've got to deal with these type of people inside a prison. But it does go unnoticed to the majority of people because, as you can imagine, they're sly about how they do it as well. They will go and pick on people so that nobody else can see what's happening. So no one will stop them and they can prey on the victims and get away with it. So if you can't stand up for yourself or handle yourself inside a prison, you're going to get tortured. And that is a fact. Like I've said, some people have said when I've done previous videos saying you're full of shit, that doesn't happen. Believe you me, it happens. It also happens if someone has got a package or someone has had to sell a visit, but they're not a fighter and they can't really handle themselves, but they've got a bit of contact or they've had someone to bring something in for them. If the fucking other lads who want something find out they've got something, especially someone that normally supplies the wing, finds out this other person has got something, you'll just go on the pad, slap him and take it off him. And there's nothing he can do about it because he can't handle himself and he's got no one on the wing to back him up. If he could handle himself and he was dangerous and they thought, if I tax him, he's then going to slice us or stab us, then it wouldn't happen. But because the outcome would be, if I take the package off him and he's not going to do nothing about it, then there's nothing stopping them from doing it. So that's what will happen inside a prison if you can't handle yourself. But if you can handle yourself or even have the balls to stand up to them, it gets nipped in the bud straight away. If you turn around and say, no, you're not getting nothing, or fuck off, don't come back, more times than not, you'll be left alone because they'll know they can't get nothing out of you. But that was just a quick 10-minute video about what happens if you can't handle yourself. I will do a more in-depth one another time, talking about the same sort of topic, but go a little bit more in depth about getting into fights and how to survive throughout your sentence with different scenarios. That was just a brief about how not or how or what will happen if you can't handle yourself. I will do another one about how to get through your full sentence without getting into trouble or without being attacked from the other prisoners. Well, keep an eye out and keep watching the channel, people. And if you are enjoying it, remember, comment, like and subscribe. Take care, everyone.